West Mifflin Area School District regular board meeting is being held at West Mifflin Area School District Middle School Auditorium, 81 Commonwealth Avenue, West Mifflin, PA 15122. The meeting begins at 7:02. Opening exercises, pledge to the flag.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Ahern,
Here.
Alexandrov, Bennett,
Here.
Engler,
Here.
Gestelnik, Mattis,
Here.
White, DeSenza, and Blazevich.
Here. 2, presentations. Dr. Solomon.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have some presentations this evening. The first one is Mr. Stephen Underwood. Mr. Underwood will be giving a demonstration of the 75-inch interactive Samsung TV. Mr. Underwood.
Hello, so we're going to be installing this screen, as you can see, in a bunch of the classrooms.
Does the board want to move around so they can see this interactive TV?
Sure.
Yes. Sit down in the audience.
Thank you, sir. So we're going to install this in just about every classroom, make it easier since we need to keep up with technology for our students. And as you can see, it's just a touch screen. You go to any site you want, search anything you want. I can search Mozart. Now it's going to have a wireless keyboard and mouse as well.
I was going to say, it's going to have a wireless keyboard and mouse as well in every classroom, but it is a touchscreen. It doesn't need those. It's just another, means of typing stuff into the computer, especially if you have a lot of things you want to do, a lot of typing to do. Sometimes the touchscreen can get a little bit cumbersome for that. We all have phones, we know how it is. But it's ease of use. It's a great technology to have. Allows the kids to come up, engage in it. It allows you to annotate things. Like if you're a math teacher or whatnot, I was just talking earlier. It helps you draw problems on the board, you solve them in real time. You can actually invite children in your classroom to engage in your whiteboard session. And they don't even have to leave their seat. They can, and it's probably encouraged that they do, but they don't have to. They can join it right from here. You can invite them right from their device. So if you have kids at home that are in your class, it will be beneficial to them because they can engage in the curriculum just as they're sitting there drawing on the whiteboard. And of course, if somebody's disruptive, it tells you who they are, and it can be removed, of course. So technology is perfect, but there is that. And back to you.
So as you can see, the students can write anything they want on here. Teachers can write whatever they want on here. Teachers can put their problems up here. Yeah. As you can see, you can put whatever you want on there. Now, if he was a student, we'd be able to tell that he was writing on this board. It'll pop up with his name. Can you think of anything else without help?
Yeah. Let everybody sit. So just like any digital ink product, I was going to say, just like any digital ink product, it has controls to it. Like here's your different functions, like markers and things. And this is just one program. You're not deadlocked into this. This is what Microsoft provides at no additional cost. There's plenty of platforms out there, plenty of software packages out there that will allow you to do even greater things than this. This is just a demonstration, just a quick, this can be done kind of deal. There's really no limitation to what this thing can do. If it runs on Windows, it'll run on this. And that's kind of why we're going that direction. All of our students' laptops run on Windows. Our staff laptops run on Windows. These run on Windows. That way we're not vendor locked. We don't have any issues with firmware updates, which we've encountered in the past. And literally the sky's the limit. If our curriculum changes, which it does constantly, we can adapt right along with it without having to completely redo everything.
Do we have any questions on these?
So it looks to me like it's a big Microsoft Surface.
That's exactly what it is.
Exactly.
Okay,
Basically what this is.
so my next question is, for the price, why couldn't you just buy a 70-inch Samsung
That's what this is, a 75-inch Samsung.
and then put a computer on it for a quarter of the price? Because you would lose the touchscreen interface. You can
There's a laptop hookup behind it.
you can touch the screen at the student's desk, and it will show up.
Right.
I'm not talking against it, I'm just asking if it's worth it.
Right, and it goes back, to answer your question.
$3,000 to get a touchscreen.
Yeah, but I can see your point. But with my point too, it allows the younger kids to come up and engage. I'm primarily marketing this towards teachers who illustrate things a lot, younger children who come up and engage in hands-on, like remember the old blackboard that we used to love and scratch your fingers down and mix the racket? I miss that. But anyway, that's why the touchscreen is there. It allows them to come up and engage physically with tactile touch. And just having a non-touchscreen device wouldn't give them that. Now, for the older students, that's perfect. We can invite them to a white sports session, and they can remotely manipulate the screen, and that's great. But I think having that option for a local tactile touch is a good one.
Does the laptops have to be plugged into these in order for the teachers to use them?
So yes, the answer to that question is it's not going to be a laptop on the back of this. This is just for demonstration purposes. Since there's a shortage on literally everything right now, these are going to have a dedicated computer on the back of them running Windows, so the teacher's laptop is not tied up. The teacher is free to do whatever they need to do during their class without giving up control of their computer. So there will be a dedicated machine on the back here, and it'll run full operating system, Windows 10, Windows 11 when it's ready. It's been released, but we're not ready for it. And that will allow us to customize these to meet the needs of different schools even. Because maybe one software package doesn't work for every school, right? Maybe the elementary schools could benefit from a different program than what, say, the high school kids would need. And that gives us the flexibility to install that, to make that a reality. I mean, honestly, when it comes to digital content too, and this is something I was talking about earlier, sometimes you have to do history lessons. Our internet filter is a little bit strict, and it should be. And it doesn't like violence, okay? But you can't really talk about World War II or things like that without violence, okay? Let's just be real with one another. But we also want to control access to that as well. And this is a great way to do that. The instructor-led curriculum, you could put that information up there in context so people understand what it is, and you wouldn't be encumbered by those filters. You could deliver that in a way that is classroom appropriate. And that's just one of the things I was thinking about, like the digital content that we see in our curriculum now. I see a lot of people trying to project on projectors right now, movies and things of that nature. You can't see them. It's pretty terrible. With this, everybody can see it.
So there's going to be additional computer that will be attached to it, so the teachers will be separate. Is this an additional purchase that we will have to make because we just bought new laptops for the teachers?
It would be included with the totality of the price. It was actually kitted together as a single unit.
Okay.
Even though the TV is one thing and the computer's another, they were included in the line item as one contiguous unit.
And is what we have already on hand compatible with all of this?
Absolutely. From the ground up, this is a Microsoft organization. We use Microsoft Windows on our staff laptops, our staff PCs, staff, pretty much anything that we use, servers, everything. It's all Microsoft, and so is this. And as Mr. Bennett had alluded before, it's kind of like a giant Surface tablet, which is also a Microsoft device. I wish they made Surfaces this big. I would get them.
These are going to be long mounted, so I can't foresee it actually being utilized as so much of a touchscreen. And not for elementary. And I'm wondering as well, I know in our house, if you hit a ball off of it or run into it, you're going to damage the screen. They're very fragile. Is there something that we would have to purchase for our pocket phone or?
These things are surprisingly resilient. I wouldn't like to actually test it right here to see how much abuse it could take, because that could get a little dicey. But just simply hitting it's not going to be enough to render it inoperable. And we want to try to mount these in a situational or in a place to where everybody can actually access them. I mean, I understand what you're saying. The smaller kids are just, they're not that high, they're not that tall yet. So they may have trouble actually reaching up and grabbing it. But we're going to try to mount these in such a way that that's a limited thing. We're going to try to mount them low enough to where the teacher can still use it viably, but also the students can also engage with it as well. There's got to be some way to do it.
Are you gonna be responsible for all of the maintenance and installing and the software upgrades and everything else, or is this gonna be the company we're purchasing from?
The company that we are going to be purchasing these, TSI Touch, they are going to be responsible for the maintenance on them. They're going to have same-day service on site. They're a local company, which is actually good. And that gives us a little bit better chance of getting a machine serviced directly rather than just replaced even. In the event that they can't fix it, they will just outright replace it, and that's the warranties through them. Now, as far as hanging them up, that's also something that they're going to do as well.
Is this the actual size? This one right here?
Now, I believe this is a 75, isn't it?
I believe it's a 55.
This is actually maybe a 55.
I was gonna say it's so small.
I was going to say, it does look small to me. I mean, I don't have the diagonal measure on it, but this is definitely not a 75.
Our plan is to put 75s in all the classrooms.
Hold on. Anybody got a tape measure?
No, I think it's,
I think it's a 60. I think it's probably a 55 or a 60. It's definitely not a 75.
Say on the back.
Oh, that would be too easy.
Mr. Espo, the computers that you mentioned, was that included in the price you gave us?
Yes, it was.
I believe the demos that they brought are 65 inch. Yes. you get some of that.
just because from over here, and I'm old too, not young, I don't have young eyes, it seems a little small. I'm old, I'm sorry, I get it.
Yep.
I'm just saying, it's that right, I just- And
I can see what you're saying. I mean, from where you're sitting with this one, I mean, the extra, 10 inches of space will make all the difference for sure.
So these are replacing current technology, right?
Right. Right now, we have Promethean boards mostly in the school. Those led us into an issue.
What's a Promethean board? I don't know.
Promethean board is basically an interactive whiteboard. It's like a giant, it's not a touch screen. You have to project an image onto it with a projector. And those are cumbersome and, let's just call them, they're a little antiquated. So what happens is the Promethean board is like an interface, like a giant touchpad. And you go up and you basically write on it just like you would here. And rather it being a true touchscreen, it just takes what you're writing and transposes it onto the actual computer itself. Rather than doing it digitally, it does it the old-fashioned way. And if we would roll with that technology, we'd have to replace every whiteboard in the district and also get new projectors as well. We figured that this was probably a more cost-effective, future-proof solution than that. Certainly easier to maintain.
Mr. Stoll said that there was a survey to the teachers. Do you have feedback on that?
I personally don't, Mr. Bennett, but Mr. Underwood does.
I do have feedback on that, and the biggest complaint was what he was saying, that this demo is too small. And I've told most of the teachers that we're getting a bigger size than what we have here. That was my number one complaint, that it's gonna be hard to see from the back of the room at that size.
Did they like it?
Yes, overall, everyone liked it. They could see the value in it. They said they needed training on it, which we are going to provide them with.
What buildings teachers are yeah.
I had this in every single building. I had two of them. I have one over at the elementary school right now. This came from the elementary school. It sat here for 2 days, and we had one at the high school for 2 days. And I sent an email out to all the teachers telling them, hey, go check it out, send me feedback. I want to know what your concerns are with it.
Did you say both elementaries?
Yes, In fact, the one's still sitting at Clara Barton right now.
Mr. Esper, can you give us the cost and what our warranty would cover and for the duration? I mean, how long would anything be covered if this was a purchase that we've been making?
You have that something.
I believe the warranty period is 3 years on this. It is same-day service, whereas we kind of shopped around with other vendors, which couldn't even fulfill the order at all. And the warranty terms were similar between them and TSI. And we basically went with them based on the it's always a recommendation. They flat out told me, hey, if this thing breaks, we're going to be out there the same day to fix it. I'm pretty sure these teachers would agree with me and say that if something happens to your whiteboard right now in your class, that's bad. That holds them up. They can't teach as effectively as they would like to. And having to wait, days, if not weeks for a replacement, that's just not an option. So, we had the same day service on that with a 3-year warranty,
So
parts and labor.
before the production of smart TVs and Amazon Fire Sticks, in order to watch Netflix, we used to put our computer, plug it into the back of our TV, and it would run the computer as a giant monitor. So what I see here is a giant monitor.
That's exactly it, Mr.
Hear
Bennett.
me out. I don't see anybody above 8th grade using the whiteboard portion. I think, this is just my personal opinion, you guys, I won't be here when you vote for this. But I think we were talking about 200. I can see, you can get a 60, 75-inch TV in Costco right now for $800 and plug a TV in the back or a computer in the back and do the same exact thing you're doing right now. I'm sorry? Oh, no, you're an IT expert. So if what I'm getting at is now, what I'm getting at is I think this is good for younger kids, but I don't see the older kids using the touchscreen portion.
Well, Mr. Bennett, I can agree that the younger kids will definitely get a lot out of it, but I know there's a lot of high school teachers right now using those Promethean boards, and they are dying left and right, and we're having to tell them that we can't help them because we've run out of parts, and we've committed not to buy new projectors, so we can't get new whiteboards, and we can't get the new projectors.
I'm not saying.
I know where you're coming from.
Yeah, I'm not saying I just don't know if you need 200. If the touchscreen is not going to be used, this is a waste of money.
I don't think they came up with the number. I think these guys came up with the
I'm talking to you guys. I'm saying if you're not going to use the touchscreen portion, I don't know why you need a touchscreen that does the same thing as a computer one.
I think we let this system.
I don't know how important, all we're seeing right now.
On my surveys?
And then like 3+2. I don't know what.
On my surveys, almost everybody said they like the touchscreen functionality. I don't think I've had one say, I'm not gonna use touchscreen.
Okay.
People are trying to replace technology that's currently in the classrooms with modernized versions, similar functionality, with being able to annotate with your fingers on the screen. And
All I'm saying is that the only benefit to this thing, other than a TV, is a touchscreen portion. If we're not gonna use the touchscreen portion.
but I don't know who's saying we're not losing.
I'm asking you guys, there's no teachers here that tell me they're gonna use the touchscreen. If the touchscreen portion is not going to be utilized, just think of that, then it's a waste of money.
But this is all being recommended to the board for consideration by our chief administrators.
I understand.
Who
I'm just
will
giving you
know
an
whether the touchscreen portion is going to be.
If it's gonna be on the wall as a computer monitor, and not gonna be utilized as a touchscreen, then it's a waste of money. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
If you're telling me it's gonna be utilized as a touchscreen and they're gonna use it all the time, then go for it.
Is it going to be all the time, the touchscreen?
As we continue in our curriculum cycle, we're buying more online and digital curriculum. The teacher's going to be able to pull their curriculum up or their lesson up, and if there's a hyperlink or something they need to do, they can always tap the board that will go to. So they won't have to go over their computer hit the, arrow key or whatever, they do it all right from the board. I think I would have to agree with Mr. Underwood, that the touchscreen will be used at all levels.
Okay. I wasn't down, I was just, you know what I'm saying, if it's just you're buying it just for the touchscreen, you're not gonna use the touchscreen, then we could buy 75 TVs. You're not gonna have it, that's all I'm saying.
And I actually agree with that statement too, Mr. Bennett. And let me just say this too, is whereas they may not use the touchscreen functionality now, at some point in the future, they most assuredly will. And at that point in time, you've purchased a TV that isn't touch compatible. Now you have to pull that off the wall and replace it with a touch compatible machine. And, from where I'm sitting, that's definitely, good money into that. And I'm just thinking future proof, because I know the way that things are going, the classroom of the future is here today. And, even if a particular feature isn't used, it may be used in, 6 months. We don't really know. And it's always great to have that option there, even if you don't immediately realize it. You see that's where I'm going with it. I want to be as future-proof as we can, because I feel like we only get one chance to do this right, and we better do it now.
And I think that's why they put the demo versions in the schools, so they can be hands-on to understand what the consideration is.
And I see what Mr. Phil said, they can teach right from the board, turn the pages, whatever.
I mean, I'm not,
Yeah,
I understand where you're going.
I just don't want a $3,000 movie projector, that's all. I want it to be utilized.
Any other questions?
My concern overall is the way technology is, and you're probably the best person to explain this. Is this something that's gonna be obsolete in 3 years? Or is any of these components gonna be obsolete, and then we're gonna have a hard time replacing or at extraordinary cost of replacing it?
Absolutely, some of the components are going to be obsolete in 3 to 5 years. And you know what that component's going to be? The computer on the back, which is relatively cheap to replace. The TV itself has a rated lifespan of over 10 years. HDMI has been around for a long time. DisplayPort's been around for a long time. And boy, we just can't get rid of USB. It just keeps getting better. So it's built upon IEEE standards at this point that have been around for decades. I don't see them going anywhere. If anything, they're going to get more modern, but we're still going to have that backwards compatibility as we go. I can see these things easily lasting at least 10 years. I mean, they're rated for a 24-hour operation. I mean, these are the same things that McDonald's use in their kiosks. This is the exact same screen, actually made by the same company. So Verizon Wireless, Topgolf, and McDonald's are actually using these exact machines for their production in-house and for digital signage.
Is that in their most recently renovated stores?
That is correct.
So they're putting them in right now.
Yeah, I'm looking at the panel. It's a Samsung QM65R, I believe is what this one is, and I think the other ones are going to be QM75Rs. The specifications on those are phenomenal. And like I said, they're rated for 24-hour operation, and we're not going to use them 24 hours. So those things will easily last 10 years on their own. And of course, we have the assurance of a 3-year warranty with on-site service the same day to back them up if they don't.
Any other questions?
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen.
Should have you ask Kevin.
Mr. President, going on to presentation B, that's the student board representatives. I'd have to say congratulations to our 2 student board representatives. They are actually at the National Honor Society induction ceremony. So that concludes tonight's presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Solomon, and thank you, gentlemen, for the presentation on the smart screen, touch screen. 3 addendum items.
No addendum items at this time, Mr. President.
Thank you. Board hearing of the citizens, public comment. In order to speak at this time, the following must be met. Must be a West Mifflin, Whitaker, or New resident. Matter must have been discussed through proper education channels. Please direct comments to the board president and/or superintendent. Remarks are limited to 3 minutes per person. If you have items on, questions on the agenda, we will try to address those as we cover the agenda items in line. Diane Stanesic.
Diane Stanesic, 2803 Glen Lane Extension. Under finance, the essential skill software for math, was this discussed once before for consideration, or is this a different one? I can't recall, so that's why I'm asking that question. Under refunds subtracted from expenditures, the items that are listed as special ed, AIU, secondary Montour, there's one for 97 some thousand, 19,000 something, and 650. An explanation would be nice about that. Can we also get an explanation of the additional fees that would be given to any outside organization that want to use our facilities? For example, the youth basketball. The other thing is that I've been seeing a lot on the parent portal on Facebook that with regards to bullying, either on the school bus or in the school, and is there or are these kids paying the consequences for bullying? Because if there's no consequence, then they're going to think that this is simply okay. And which it seems to me, these parents, I don't think they're making this stuff up, but it would be nice to know if there are consequences. I like that setup over there, but a question of mine is, that is paid for, and I forget the correct terminology, but it's sort of like from the COVID money, and not out of our specific budget money. And my last question is, and the solicitor could probably answer this, with regards, if somebody hands in a resignation and then rescinds the resignation, then it becomes a moot point, correct? According to Robert rules?
Correct.
Thank you.
As long as there was no board action, I'd say that.
Right.
Mrs. Domestic, real quick, I just want to know that your first comment, your first question on financing, which number was it?
That's the essential skill software that we'll recommend for purchase. And that is some interventions for our students.
Page 4, number 4.
Okay, page 4, number 4, thanks.
Sorry about that.
Okay. Dr. Solomon, did you want to address, or Mr. Solis, where the funds for the touchscreen come from?
We will be using the SS3 money for the purchase of the upgrade of our classroom software and technology.
And is that the COVID money?
That is the code, yes.
I just couldn't think of the correct terminology.
5 informational items, there are none. 6, board secretary, business managers report.
Thank you, Mr. President. I respectfully ask for a motion second approval on the following items. 6A, Board of Directors, numbers 1 through 4 on pages 2 and 3. Actually, 1 through 3, and these were all discussed last week.
Motion.
Do I have a motion? Motion by Mr. DeSenza. Second by Mr. Bennett. Any questions or comments? Roll call.
Ahern,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
Engler,
Yes.
Mattis,
Yes.
DeCenzo,
Yes.
and Blazen.
Yes.
Item 6B, finances, number 1 and 2 on page 3. One was discussed last week, and number 2 is a refund for tax appeals of $65,973.75, which I got after last week's meeting.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Bennett,
Second.
second by Mrs. Ahern. Any questions or comments? Roll call.
Ahern,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
Engler,
Yes.
Mattis,
Yes.
DeSenzo,
Yes.
Blazy.
Yes.
Item 6C, purchasing and contracting, numbers 1 through 5 on pages 3 and 4.
Do I have a
Number
motion?
4 and 5 were discussed last week, but they are new, that we did discuss them.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Mrs. Engler,
Second.
second by Mr. Bennett. Questions or comments? Just to address Mrs. Stanesic's question for number 1, that's C1, correct?
Number 4.
Oh, sorry, number 4.
Number 4, the essential skills, yes, I believe we've had that in the past, and we're just renewing that as part of our interventions for students.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Any other questions? Roll call.
Ahern,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
Engler,
Yes.
Mattis,
Yes.
DeSenzo,
Yes.
and Blazy.
Yes.
Item 6D, minutes on page 4.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. DeSenza,
Second.
second by Mrs. Ahern. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Ahern,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
Engler,
Yes.
Mattis,
Yes.
DeSenzo,
Yes.
and Blazy.
Yes.
Item 6C, reports 1 through 5 on pages 4 and 5.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Mattis, second by Mr. Bennett. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Ahern,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
Engler,
Yes.
Mattis,
Yes.
DeSenzo,
Yes.
and Blazy.
Yes.
Item 6F, refund subtracted from expenditures, number 1 on page 5.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. DeSenza,
Second.
second by Mr. Bennett. Questions or comments?
Just to,
About the Montour School District,
Yes.
$20,000.
that's, yeah.
What is that for?
This is reimbursement for a student that lives in West Mifflin, but is the financial responsibility of Montour School District. So that this is, they're reimbursing us for costs.
Any other questions? Roll call.
Ahern,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
Engler,
Yes.
Mattis,
Yes.
DeSenzo,
Yes.
Blazy.
Yes.
Item 6G, invoices numbers 1 through 5 on pages 5 and 6. Number 1, C and D were added since last week. 1C is reimbursement for the police officers that we contracted to work the football games from West Mifflin Borough. And number D is our monthly retainer from our solicitor. And 2A is application 3 for the home build wall project.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. DeSenza,
Second.
second by Mrs. Ahern. Any questions or comments? I have a question on 2A. Is this the last invoice, do we know, for the wall?
I don't believe so. I believe there's going to be one more.
Okay. Are we under budget or on budget with that project?
It'll come in exactly what we approved.
Okay. Any other questions? Roll call?
Ahern,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
Engler,
Yes.
Mattis,
Yes.
DeSenzo,
Yes.
and Blazy.
Yes.
Item 6H, requisitions others, number 1 through 2 on page 6.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Mrs. Ahern,
Second.
second by Mrs. Engler. Questions or comments? Roll call?
Ahern,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
Engler,
Yes.
Mattis,
Yes.
DeSenza,
Yes.
Blazevich.
Yes.
Mr. President, that so concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Esper. 7, district operations.
Yes, Mr. President, would like the board to approve under 7A through D. We did talk about C at the committee meetings, and we just received the information from our music department that the spring musical will be Shrek musical, and it'll be performed on the 24th, 25th, 26th, and 27th of March. That's for the board approval.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Mrs. Zager,
Second.
second by Mrs. Engler. Questions or comments?
I have a question.
Mr. Bennett.
We didn't get to talk about this too much. And I guess I'm taken back at the cost of production. Just growing up, I always thought they were just free. Is that budgeted, I assume, Joe?
We don't budget. The proposal shows that they will cover the cost through advertising and paid sales.
So they'll
No, there's
they'll
no-
pay for itself and make money. Okay. I wasn't sure how that read. Thank you.
Any other question? Roll call.
Ahern,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
Engler,
Yes.
Mattis,
Yes.
DeSenza,
Yes.
Blazevich.
Yes. 8, superintendent's report.
Yes, Mr. President, under letter A, 8A, we have nothing at this time. Under 8B, we have the student activities as listed.
No, I thought we usually do this for everything.
Ones that weren't on there from last week is the junior ROTC is looking to do some fundraising through the school store. One of our teachers doing a breakfast with Santa, and we have 2 groups asking for Jeans Days.
Do I have a motion?
Is this A, B, and C? Just A, B.
Not for Mr. Brown.
What are you doing?
That's what I was thinking. You
Oh,
can do
okay.
all of
Okay. Under 8C, the buildings and grounds, as listed, we have multiple groups using facilities and so forth to address the outside organization cost. There's no change in outside organization's fees. They're in with the policy and the facility permit, so there is no increase as to what the cost of utilizing our facilities is.
Do I have a motion? Motion by Mr. Mattis,
Second.
second by Mr. DeSenza. Questions or comments?
You said there's no fee?
No.
And your question was, what are the fees?
The price of the permit increase to cover costs.
Those, I'm sure I can ask Mr. Wells, those prices have been the same for how many years?
We did that back in 2017.
So the post on Facebook is inaccurate. Shocking.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
I didn't see it.
Any other questions or comments? Roll call.
Ahern,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
Engler,
Yes.
Mattis,
Yes.
DeSenza,
Yes.
Blazevich.
Yes. 9, professional personnel.
Mr. President, we ask the board to approve letters A through E. We do have employees all taking leaves. Under leave of absence A, we have 1 retirement in our professional rankings, and we would like the board to approve hiring Kennedy Figgis to a full-time ELA, ESL teacher application.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Mrs. Engler,
Second.
second by Mrs. Ahern. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Ahern,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
Engler,
Yes.
Mattis,
Yes.
DeSenza,
Yes.
Blazevich.
Yes. 10, non-certified personnel.
We only have 1 item there, Mr. President, under B, and that is the approval of a resignation.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Bennett, second by Mrs. Ahern. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Ahern,
Yes.
Bennett.
Yes.
Engler,
Yes.
Mattis,
Yes.
DeSenzo.
Yes.
Blazevich.
Yes. 11, athletic personnel.
Only thing we have there, Mr. President, is under C, 1 and 2, that we are recommending an assistant varsity wrestling coach and the assistant girls basketball.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Bennett,
Second.
second by Mr. DeSenza. Questions or comments? Roll call?
Ahern,
Yes.
Bennett, Engler,
Yes.
Mattis,
Yes.
DeSenzo.
Yes.
And Blazevich.
Yes. 12, substitutes.
We have nothing under that category, Mr. President.
13, conferences.
We have a couple conferences we added since last week for ESL, Still Center, and teacher participated in the Sunday systems training.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Mrs. Ahern,
Second.
second by Mrs. Engler. Questions or comments?
Question. Second and third, Mr. Fuller, this is a question for you. I know we ultimately approved them, and I guess we're on the hook for the $750. Do you approve these? Or
Yes.
Is something that's necessary for them to go through?
It'll actually go through the building principal. They come to my level. This Sunday system is a reading program that helps with dyslexic kids. And so, it's more of a help me out there, Mr. Dr. Solomon.
Actually, the program was purchased right before COVID, and the teachers really never had the opportunity to get training to start using it to the maximum capability. So this was something that they were very excited and anxious to go to. This program used to be Orton Gillingham, and that is a very well-known reading assistant. And this program here is the new version of it, and it's actually good from kindergarten all the way up to some of the 9th and 10th graders can even use it.
Dr. Solomon, did you say it used to be?
Orton Gillingham.
Okay.
It's a multi-sensory approach to reading.
Yeah, by no means am I questioning whether they need it. That was my whole point. I don't know whether they need it or not. I was just making sure that you guys, I didn't want to be the final say-so for somebody going to a conference that I have no idea if they need it or not.
No problem.
Any other questions? Roll call?
Ahern,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
Engler,
Yes.
Mattis,
Yes.
DeSenzo.
Yes.
Blazevich.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Solon.
That concludes my report, Mr. President. Thank you.
Board 14, board president correspondence. There are none. However, I'd like to take a moment to thank 3 outgoing board members. So, Mr. Bennett, thank you for your service and your time on the board. It's been a pleasure. Mrs. O'Leary White, I want to thank her. She's unable to be here this evening for her time on the board and her service, and also Mr. Alexandrov for his time and service on the board. It is very much appreciated, and you will all be missed as we move forward with the remaining board members. Secondly, I'd like to congratulate Mrs. Ahern on her successful reelection bid. Congratulations, Mrs. Ahern. And also want to congratulate and welcome Kevin Donahue, Mark Duhas, and Kevin Squires, who will be joining us in 2 weeks. And we look forward to working with you all. So congratulations. And we look forward to that. Or I certainly look forward to working with everybody with the reorganization happening in 2 weeks. That's all for my soapbox speech. Welcome and thank you to our outgoing board members. 15, executive session discussion, personnel and legal matters were discussed. 16, board reports, committee reports were given out last week in our work session. No Skill Center reports this evening. 17, solicitors report.
That report was given.
18, old business. 19, new business.
No, I got it.
Mr. Bennett?
I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank the board These last 18 months have been amazing, learning, educational, thankless. This is a job that I hardly asked to be a part of. I was home one day and I seen that one of the board members resigned, and I reached out and said, how does somebody like me get on the school board? And a few days later, they voted on it. But I just wanted to thank the board, these people, and they do an amazing job. And you guys don't get to see what we go through. And everybody has great ideas, but you're only one of 9. And to the new board members coming in, I give you all the love and respect. It's different sitting down there, and I cannot wait to sit down there next week and watch you guys. It's a little bit of a relief to, not have that much weight on your shoulders. And these people, everyone up here, whether you like us or not, they're here for the right reasons. Each one of them has a different reason, but it's the right reason. When I got elected, a board member that was leaving said to me, I'm sorry I didn't get elected. When I got appointed, a board member said to me, I don't care what you do, but take care of these certain individuals. To you 3 coming in 2 weeks, I don't care what you do, take care of our kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Any other new business? Motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion by Mrs. Ahern, second by Mrs. Engler. Meeting adjourned.